I was listening to what Deluxe Man had to say, what Solomon says had to say, what OTR Central said, and now what Don Tony and Kevin Castle has said. And I thought I'd kind of chime in on it myself because even though I don't watch it as much as I could, I mean, I'm gonna probably catch up on it through on demand, knowing me, because that's the way I've been doing it lately. Um, let me kind of address something to Jim Cornette. Now, I respect Jim Cornette for being one of the best managers in the business. Definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, though I doubt he'll ever be in the WWE Hall of Fame unless something changes on both ends or his end or whatever. Um, I respect the fact that he does have a mind for the business. However, his mind for the business seems to waver a little bit. You see, I'm not saying that he doesn't have any respect or acceptance for what goes on right now in wrestling, in sports entertainment, in the WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, you know, Lucha Underground, whatever you want to call it. I'm sure he I'm sure he has some kind of respect and acceptance of what he sees there. He's got to. But for Jim Cornette to come out and say the things that he did, for him to come out and say the things that he did about Lucha Underground, giving it its giving its praise on the way it was filmed, the cinematography, and the production. You know, I'll credit him for that, for at least praising and respecting and respecting the effort of production and editing and filming and all that goes into this. But then he comes around and basically says that this Lucha Underground is a piece of horse crap. And that overall, anything that has to do with it, even if the production values and stuff are good and impressive, should have a nuclear bomb dropped on it. He says that it's not wrestling, it's a final nail in the coffin. Basically, overall, Jim Cornette is saying that Lucha Underground is not worth crap. It's a joke. First of all, I don't think Jim Cornette understands what Lucha Underground is. See, Lucha Underground is an extension to the American audiences of AAA. That's what it is. It's an extension to the American audiences of AAA. Now, now, the reason I say that is because a majority of the men and women there are either signed to AAA and wrestle for them exclusively, or are independent competitors that sign with AAA to be part of Lucha Underground exclusively, but can also work independents. So, with that said, you think Jim Cornette, with the knowledge that he has and for the love what he has, the love that he has for this business, okay, he would know that. Now, the way I look at it is, yes, Lucha Underground is a show. It's got wrestling in it. It's a wrestling sports entertainment show. But here's how I look at Lucha Underground. It is part of AAA's expansion into the United States. It's a part of that. So by being a part of that extension, being a part of that extension, AAA teamed up with some very good people at MGM and United Artists and all that to do something that pretty much I think that by doing so they are sending a message to all of wrestling. And that is if you want people to get behind your products, do something that's going to make things believable. All right? Do things that are going to make people want to tune into your product and not shun away from it. You know, Jim Cornette, you talk about how great the cinematography and everything is filmed and how it's something that Martin Scorsese could have done. Easy for me to say. Martin Scorsese could have done. And you're right. It does look like that. But in a sense, what it's doing, like I say, through doing that kind of, filming, is making it more believable. That's what they're doing. They're making it more believable. They're not saying, hey, we're going to be like anybody else. We're being believable. We're doing this. To them, to whoever's behind the idea of filming it like that, to them, it makes things more believable. And Jim, whether you like it or not, Lucha Underground is wrestling, but it's produced like it's a crime drama at the same time because it makes it more believable. Now, true, we all know that, like with crime dramas or whatever, like NCIS and all that, we know those are fake shows, but they're so based in reality, it makes us want to watch more because it seems so believable. It makes it so seem believable. I mean, Criminal Intent, like I said, CSI and NCIS, and stuff like that makes even though we know that the fake, the works of fiction, the settings are so much based in reality that it makes us want to believe that it's real. It makes it seem real to us. It makes it seem believable. Homeland, which is one of the most excuse me, Homeland, which is one of the most popular shows HBO has ever done. We know it's a work of fiction, but it's based so much in reality that we want to watch more of it because it seems real, it seems believable. And that's what Lucha Underground is trying to pull off here. They're trying to, in a sense, do what you've been begging for a long time. Bring that believability back into wrestling by doing it in a way that gets people invested. You know what I'm saying? It gets people invested. That's why they're shooting it the way you praised the way they've been shooting it. Because it makes it more believable. Makes it more like, oh, this guy's really who he is on television or in the ring. I guess they're not acting. I guess they're not faking it. And the thing is, by doing that, by doing that, it garners more interest. It garners more interest for the product. It garners more eyes to say, hey, there is an alternative to the other horse crap, as you would point at most times, that's out there. And this is a true alternative because they're making things seem believable. And yes, I will admit, there are people that go there and they spoil the matches. But just because they spoil the matches doesn't mean, it doesn't mean, you know, it doesn't mean that, they know what's going to happen with the cinematography of it. They don't know the what's going to happen with the sort of behind the scenes, the crime drama element of it. They don't know. I mean, you got Donald. Can't think of his name right now. You got Ontario's brother, who's supposed to be a monster, a flesh-eating, man-eating monster, and yet we don't see him killing these people, and it makes it believable because you would think a promoter like him, you makes it believable because now you see a promoter like him being a threat because you don't know what he's got backing him up. You don't know what this thing is. It makes it believable. It makes people invested because you want to see exactly who or what that thing is eventually and why it kills people, why it eats people. True, it has a bit of a scientific gothic mix to it as well, but that's what keeps people invested. It's what draws people to it. And for people like a John Morrison, like a Rey Mysterio, you know, it's like a rebirth for them. It's like it gets them rejuvenated. It gets them rejuvenated for what comes next in their career. I mean, look at Alberto Del Rio. When he was there, it rejuvenated him. And yes, he did go back to WWE, but part of me thinks the reason he went back was because of that rejuvenation. You know, you could say whatever you want about Lucha Underground, Jim. The truth is, you have to accept the fact, whether you like it or not, that it's paving the way for a new beginning in pro wrestling. It's sending a message through the way it films its backs behind the scenes atmospheres in a, like you say, in a Martin Scorsese kind of like way. You got to realize they're leading a path. They have, they are creating a path to a new way of doing things in wrestling. I've said it before when I talked about Lucha Underground. I think eventually companies like TNA, someone like TNA, New Japan, CZW, ROH, and maybe even WWE someday down the road are going to see what Lucha Underground has done and say, you know what? If it can work for them, it could work for us. And you know what? That's eventually what's going to happen. Because Lucha Underground is paving the way for it to happen. Someday you're going to have a majority of these wrestling promotions do a reboot in a kind of a reboot or soft reboot, if you will, in a way that when you look at the behind the scenes segments next time, they're going to be just similar to what you saw, if not exactly like what you saw with Lucha Underground, with their non wrestling segments, the crime drama like segments. You're going to see that, and you know what's going to happen? People are going to embrace it. They're going to embrace it. They're going to enjoy it, whether you like to admit it or you don't. I mean, Jim, I think I speak for anybody that's come out and said this. We respect we respect what you've done for this business. But what you have to realize is what you want can't happen anymore. Unless somehow all promoters ban people from bringing their devices into the arena. Only that way will you be able to ban it. Will you be able to try to keep things in secret? But that's never going to happen because you do that, you're taking away people's freedom of speech, or the rights, if you will, to have let's say a phone just in case of an emergency. So what you want is never going to happen. It's not going to be what it used to be. Things change. I mean, I will admit, would it be nice if we didn't know what was going to happen? Of course. That's why people don't read live ongoing results of Monday Night Raw, or read the spoilers for upcoming Impacts, or for that week's SmackDowns, or for upcoming Lucha Undergrounds or Ring of Honor tapings. Because they want to stay old school. They want to be surprised. You know? That's why they don't read the dirt sheets. They want to be surprised. They want to still have that old school feeling. But still, whether or not they do that, things will never go back to the way they were. They won't. And if you expect someone like WWE to do that, you out of your mind. TNA, you out of your mind. You've been there. You've been to all three major companies. You've been to all major companies. And that was my Facebook thing going off. But you've been to all major companies. You know what it's like. Heck, you were put in charge of several aspects of creative and booking and running them that you should know by being there and seeing the evolution that things are not going to go back to the way they were. I mean, I give you credit for when you did Smoky Mountain Wrestling. But when you brought in a team like the Gangstas, and then you started affiliating yourself with WWE, that's when you pretty much shot yourself in the foot. Because by doing so, you pretty much said, oops, I made a boo-boo. And oops, I've just turned my old school territory, or the one promotion territory that I want to keep old school, I just turned into a sports entertainment place. Or an access to sports entertainment. I mean, why do you think USWA didn't last after they associated with WWE and evolved into Power Pro Wrestling? Because they went from being their own mid-major promotion, or major independent promotion, to being a developmental territory for WWE to being non-existent. And that's what you did. You went from being a mid to semi-major independent promotion from a territorial standpoint in Smoky Mountain to becoming developmental for WWE, and then you were gone. Because you didn't realize that what you were doing was you were going against what you stood for. I mean, I'm pretty sure that if you were to go back in time to those moments, to that moment where you started affiliating with the likes of WCW and mostly WWE, you wouldn't do it. You would not do it. And why? Because you would know better. Jim, why do you think people do not hire you on anymore as a creative consultant, or even give you the opportunity to be in charge of some kind of booking or creative? Because they know that if they put you in charge, they're going to be taking a step backwards, not forwards. I mean, true. I'll give you credit. You're saying, oh, well, the young guys and stuff should be pushed. I'll give you that. But Jim, you can say all the right things that people can agree with. And there's a lot of people that will agree with you. Because you do say some of the right things, but also you say some BS things. Like I said, going with Lucha Underground and saying that it's a piece of horse crap and only praising the filming and productions. And saying it's like a Martin Scorsese film. You know, that's great and everything, but when you're praising it for its production and filming and everything, that's one thing. But then you go a complete 180 and say, oh, well, the rest of it's horse crap. And by the way, all of it should be put and have a nuclear bomb dropped on it. And that's the final nail in the coffin. It's not the final nail in the coffin. If anything, it's the first step to rejuvenating this business. And I guarantee you, and like I said, I almost can guarantee that Lucha Underground, by paving the path that it's doing with the way its productions are being done, the way it's filming its behind the scenes segments or non-wrestling segments, people are going to get invested in it even more so. And I guarantee there are going to be other promotions out there. WWE, TNA, Ring of Honor, CZW, New Japan, they're going to go follow that same suit down the line. And you know it. You know it. I mean, quite frankly, Jim, the only chance you ever have of running another promotion, or at least having some control and power in another promotion, is a minor independent promotion. Maybe one that's starting up to try to be that next big thing. That's the only way. I mean, no offense, I think you have a better chance of signing with Paragon Pro Wrestling and being creative consultant behind that, or booking, so kind of having some kind of power there instead of trying to convince companies and promotions and people like TNA and Dixie Carter, you know, Vince McMahon, the WWE, Lucha Underground, and the home promotion of AAA. Hey, and Ring of Honor and the people behind them. You know, it's gonna take more than just what you do. It's gonna take more than just you and saying what you're saying to get things done. And like I said, the best chance you have is with a minor independent promotion that might take you in. Maybe even Paragon Pro Wrestling would take you in, because Paragon Pro Wrestling apparently is kind of going back to that old school mentality. And oh, by the way, just like TNA, it's on the same freaking network, I think. So if I'm you, so Jim Cornette, if I'm you, I watch what I'm saying, my friend. I mean, with all due respect for everything you've done, you can't, you got to realize that times have changed. And that what Lucha Underground is doing right now is paving the way for those changes to become reality in all of wrestling. And again, like I said at the beginning, Lucha Underground, yes, it's mostly a TV show that involves wrestling, but it's a TV show. It's a half wrestling show, half crime drama show that's associated and that's an extension of its home promotion, AAA in Mexico. So hopefully, Jim, you'll listen to what everybody's saying in response to what you've done, and maybe, hopefully, you'll realize that this is the direction things are going to be going in, and that Lucha Underground is paving the way for it. So that's all I'm going to say. Give me my 2 cents on it. Let me know what you all think down below. Talk to you all later.